my dear.
Happy birthday, Dame Agatha Christie. We have been teasing for a while now about a new special episode that we're going to do every once in a while, and it is going to be called In Agatha's Footsteps, where we will highlight established authors who we adore, and they will give advice to new authors or up-and-coming authors. They will spread their knowledge.
We started this podcast with the focus has always been on authors who are not household names.
And it will still remain that.
And we will still remain doing that. We also have to acknowledge those authors that are household names.
So you can learn from them.
And our criteria is they need to be authors we really like. They have to be authors who have been on the bestseller list. That's basically it. And they have to be willing to talk to us. That's the
well, that's a big
yeah, we dead in the water without that.
We could just talk about them.
Yes, but they wouldn't give advice. So.
And we are very thrilled that our first interview is with Alan Bradley, who writes the very successful Flavia de Luce mystery series. And we were so excited when he agreed to talk to us. Alan Bradley was born in Toronto, Ontario, and grew up in the pleasant lakeside town of Cobourg, Ontario. After a long career in television broadcasting, he took early retirement from the University of Saskatchewan to write full-time. He's published many children's stories as well as lifestyle and arts columns in Canadian newspapers. His adult stories have been broadcast on CBC Radio and published in various literary journals. He has also written several screenplays and taught university-level courses in screenwriting. He was the recipient of the first Saskatchewan Writers Guild Award for Children's Literature. After writing for several years on the Maltese island of Gozo, Alan Bradley now lives on the Isle of Man.
Alan Bradley writes the Flavia de Luce series, which we have all read and we all enjoy.
We devour them.
We love Flavia. The first book of his Flavia de Luce series, The Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie, won the 2007 debut Dagger Award of the Crime Writers Association in the UK, the 2009 Agatha Award for Best First Novel, the 2010 Dillies, awarded by the International Mystery Booksellers Association, the Spotted Owl Award, given by the Friends of Mystery, and the 2010 Arthur Ellis Award, given by the Crime Writers of Canada for Best First Novel. The Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie has also been nominated for an Anthony Award, a Barry Award, and a McCavity Award. Besides appearing on the New York Times bestsellers list as a favorite mystery of 2009, Sweetness was also, among other honors, an American Library Association nominee as Best Book for Young Adults, a Barnes & Noble's bestseller, and was named to the 2009 Bloomer list. The audiobook version of The Sweetness at the Bottom of the Pie was voted Best Audiobook by iTunes. All 6 of the Flavia de Luce books published to date have been New York Times bestsellers and are presently published in 39 countries and 36 languages. And the series has been optioned for television by the Academy Award-winning producer-director Sam Mendes of Skyfall and American Beauty fame.
Okay,
I can't wait.
This is apparently a little out of date because his 10th Flavia book is coming out in the winter of this year.
Well, you'll hear that in the interview, and I hope you really enjoy this interview. We definitely did. Mr. Bradley was
A delight.
A delight. True
he
delight.
Was gracious.
And then after this episode's over, we're going to get the celebration really started. And we have purchased gifts for each other to celebrate Dame Agatha's birthday.
And we got champagne.
You'll have to take our word on that.
Party poppers.
And and the gifts we'll describe them, but we'll also take pictures and put them on our website. So enjoy our interview.
We would like to welcome Alan Bradley, who is the author of many Flavia de Luce novels that are they're one of my favorite things. I'm always looking forward to the next one to come down the line. It's such a pleasure to welcome you to our podcast.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I feel honored.
Now, were you a precocious child growing up? And how difficult was it to put yourself into the mind of a preteen girl?
Okay, I don't know if I would call it precocious, but I think I was blessed by my mother with the gift of being left alone and being encouraged to read anything that I wanted to, so that I was always allowed to exist in my own space and read whatever I chose to read. And my mother was always very supportive of that, very encouraging. And so I read way beyond my level. I was an early reader and read anything that I could get my hands on from home and the local library. So I suppose some of the things I read would be deemed inappropriate nowadays, but if that's what makes a precocious reader, then the answer is probably yes. And as far as getting into the mind of an 11-year-old, as Flavia is in the first book, I think that I can get into the mind of an 11-year-old boy. And for a child who has a vast amount of interest and curiosity about the world and what makes it tick, I don't think that there's any difference between girls and boys at that particular age. So I can have a pretty good outlook on what it was like to be 11. I recall being 11, and I remember that tremendous enthusiasm for things, that you were just burning with so much curiosity you couldn't sleep.
Where did the idea for Flavia herself come from?
Well, now that's a story. I had thought when I retired, I'd been thinking for quite a few years that I would really like to write a traditional English mystery story. Notice that I don't call it cozy because I don't like that term, or even golden age. I think traditional is more the way I think of them. And I finally had an opportunity to sit down when I was about 68 or 69. I was preoccupied with other things, and I started writing what I think of as my Alan Bradley mystery, and I got into it about a chapter or so. And a girl wandered onto the page and into the story without my permission. I had never conceived of her, and in fact I didn't know who she was. She just appeared on the page and virtually hijacked the book. And as I've said many times, it was a strange time for me because I didn't know what her name was, and if you don't know someone's name, you can't write a book about them. So we started off with quite a lengthy period with me trying to guess her name, and I would go out walking in the morning and just pull names out of a hat. Is your name Margaret de Marchand or something? And in my mind, this little girl, this Flavia, she wouldn't speak. She would just roll her eyes up to heaven and go. And I think, I don't know how many thousand names I guessed in my walks, but one day I said, "Is your name Flavia de Luce?" And there was just a long and ominous silence, and I ran home, and I've told this story before, obviously, but I said it was like guessing Rumpelstiltskin's name.
Oh, great.
I had to get my fingers on the keyboard right away, and I started writing, and Flavia just came through. She said it was as black in the closet as old blood, and I had no idea who she was or where she lived, what she was talking about, but as I was typing, I realized that if I was really quiet and just huddled in the corner and didn't say anything and didn't inject any of myself, she would reveal herself, not to me, but to the reader that she had in mind. I was just sort of an intermediary. I was like a piece of conduit, I think, between Flavia and the world. And she came pouring through, and here we are 10 books later.
Well, we're really happy she did.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, my.
How do you foresee Flavia's future? Will she grow into adulthood in the books?
Well, there have been suggestions that it would be fun to have Flavia at about 70 looking back and telling what happened to all the people. But Flavia, even at 18 or 20, is not going to be the same person that she is at 11 or 12. And I think she has so much to say yet and so much to learn that I wouldn't suppose to push her into a premature adulthood. She's getting there slowly on her own, and I don't think she needs any threats from me hanging over her head. So I suppose it could happen someday, but I don't have anything like that in mind at the moment. But I should explain that Flavia is always talking to me. She talks to me in the middle of the night. She wakes up and wakes me up and drops cryptic little utterances that I have no idea what they mean. I haven't the faintest idea. So I have to get up, wake up, try and get myself awake, find a pencil, write it down, and not a clue what she's talking about. It will be a couple of words sometimes. It might be an opinion about something, and so I jot it down, and then when I'm awake, I sort of try to slog through it and find out what it was. Sometimes I don't know for a long time. I might be in the next book somewhere, along about chapter 13 or chapter 14, and all of a sudden these words will come out of Flavia's mouth, and I realized that she had been talking to me in advance about a year ago. She had it in mind a long time ahead of me. So I try not to tinker with the process. I don't know very much about it. I'm in awe of it. Flavia is a gift from the universe, and I have to approach her very reverently and be very careful to try not to tarnish or miscolor her words and ideas. It's weird, but there it is.
Now, are there any plans to do a TV series or a movie about Flavia?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there is a TV series in process, even as we speak. I think they're scouting locations for it. The series had been optioned by Sam Mendes of James Bond fame.
Oh, wow.
For quite a few years, but the production company was sold, and with it, I think, went a number of projects, including the Flavia TV series, but it has since been picked up by another producer. I'm very, very happy about it. You might have seen some preliminary work on the internet or in the films about the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the company that will be producing the Flavia series. I've seen the first script of the first episode of the series, and it's very, very exciting. I know that's hackneyed, but it is exciting. It makes my heart.
Yes.
Are you going to be working as an advisor with them, or to make sure they stick to the story?
Yes, I have the opportunity to read the scripts and to give them any ideas that I happen to think